What's going on out there, folks? Welcome on in another edition of Sports Memo Today, where you get to know the experts a little bit better and, of course, get that actionable info and free plays all along the way, along with special offers just for you viewers here on Sports Memo Today. I'm your host, Dan Alexander. We're going to be joined by another two great guests here on the show today. Up top, we're going to be talking to Jeff Michaels, and we're going to end the show talking to our guy, Dr. Chuck. Get some prescription plays, as Dr. Chuck is part of the Triple Play Tuesday we got rocking at Sports Memo Today. You can get 3 players, 3 cappers, top-rated plays for just $5. Get Dr. Chuck, Tim Michael, and Buster Sports, all of their top-rated plays for just $5. You can head on over to sportsmemo.com. So let's get into it with our first guest here. Very excited to welcome in JM Sports. That's Jeff Michaels. And Jeff, I got to ask you, man, right at the top here. I mean, Michaels as the last name. Some people may be familiar with the name Ralph Michaels. That's your pops. I'm going to be hanging out with him, deleting some Miller Lights this weekend at the Philadelphia Phillies game. And I'm just wondering, Jeff, like, with Ralph Michaels as your dad, were you just like destined to be a handicapper as the human database as your pops?
I mean, one might think so. I think at the bare minimum, I was destined to be a sports fan. You know, I think the interest in the numbers and whatnot actually came from my side. He didn't push those, but you know, games were always on the TV. I didn't realize exactly what I was watching or paying attention to. Now I know him. It's his plays and his picks, but it was always sports around the house. And, you know, I played baseball growing up, so that was what I always started following. And one thing led to another, and I ended up actually working with him out at Phil Steele, doing the magazine out there too. So that helped the interest with the numbers, and one thing led to another. And why not pay a little more attention to the sports that I already watched for fun, right?
Yeah, well, unfortunately for you, he had to, bear you into Cleveland fandom. So I'm feeling for you, man. All it takes is going to be one. That Super Bowl parade, whenever it happens, will be the most glorious thing in your life, Jeff. So I got my fingers crossed for you. It took me a while to get it with my birds, but it will be a glorious day. But yeah, he didn't do you any favors throwing you into the Cleveland Fire, brother.
I had the one day we spent, actually I was with him in Vegas for the day the Cavs won. I was almost late for my flight because I refused to leave and miss the ending. So I got one so far, but yeah, let's not talk football when it comes to championships in my lifetime, at least.
Well, we are going to be talking football today with some free selections you have for the folks, Jeff. And NFL Hall of Fame game just 2 days away. We're recording here on a Tuesday, which means football is right around the corner. And you got a 2-pack of football plays you want to get into. I'm starting with the one that, of course, I love. I just sprinkled in my love for the Eagles. And you're looking at this Eagles win total. 9.5 is the number that's been sitting. There's been some love for the Eagles in the marketplace already. Are you buying the love, Jeff? How are you breaking down this total wins for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, you know, coming into it, I didn't even realize the Philadelphia connection, but I think, you know, the first thing that caught my attention, obviously everybody's been watching the Eagles, whether you're an Eagles fan or not, with the changes that they've made in the offseason. But the fact that their win total, like you mentioned, Dan, is 9.5, and last season they walked away with 9 wins. They lost a couple players on defense. They lost Jannard Avery and Alex Singleton at linebacker, and they lost a couple guys out of the secondary. But the impressive offseason they have, I think, more than makes up for that. You sign Hassan Reddick and Kazir White to play linebacker that could replace those two in themselves. But then they go out and they draft Nakobe Dean too. Yeah, James Bradbury in the secondary to replace anything they may have lost there. And they pick up Cam Jurgens, who I like in the draft, who plays almost like a Jason Kelsey that Philadelphia has grown to love. And then nobody's going to forget that A.J. Brown acquisition that they made. Mm-hmm. And you're picking up one of the top available weapons that you could have added for Jalen Hurt. And then you add somebody, even a smaller name like Zach Pascal from free agency, that you give him just another weapon and a little more experience to go alongside somebody like Devontae Smith. So last season, Philadelphia outscored their opponents by 3.5 points per game, and they outgained their opponents by 31 yards, which was 8th in the league already. They played a relatively easy schedule, I guess, last year, but this year's schedule is seemingly even easier, ranking 30th right now in strength of schedule against, playing with a much improved team. And they're playing in a winnable division, which I think is obviously something that's going to benefit you. So to play in their division and the improvements that they made, and with the books only anticipating a half-win improvement, I think it's hard to pass up taking the Philadelphia Eagles going over that 9.5 win total with the acquisitions that they made in the offseason. So I do like them to get at least 10 this year.
-120 is that play. And we had Jesse Shule on the other week, and he was going Cowboys under win total. We have Jeff coming on saying Eagles over win total. So no, I'm not stacking the deck. I'm not making people make the cases for what I want to see in the NFC East. Cappers pick their own plays over 9.5 there on the Eagles. Well, not just season long, we already got week 1 numbers, Jeff. And week 1 in the NFL, I think is always a tough one to handicap because sure, you have last year's results, but how much do they have to play into it? You always know how much do you learn from the preseason? It's a major question mark. So we're looking at week 1 here, and you wanted to break down this Ravens and Jets game. Ravens 6-point favorites, total in this one 45. How are you betting this game? Because again, I always tread lightly heading into week 1, but you maybe have a little bit stronger of a vibe heading in.
No, I do agree, Dan. At least on the sides plays, I'm looking at the total on this one and staying under. Like you said, I did look a little bit at what they did last year, and Lamar Jackson completed just 60% of his passes on the road last year, which resulted in a 2-4 over-under, and he threw just 5 touchdowns away from home last year. Baltimore's 10-22 over-under on the road against the AFC East back to 1992. On top of going just 3-7 over under last year with a line less than 7 and a total under 50. And in the last 4 out of the last 5 games between these two teams that they've played in New York, 4 out of those 5, have stayed under that total, while the Jets were just 1-5 over under last year as a dog when the line's under 7 and the total's 45 or less. So there are some stats that give you that under 2, but I think a big thing, like I said, with the Philly play before that goes into it is the changes that were made in the offseason. And when it comes to the sides plays, I think you got to see a little bit of preseason to see how they're playing together. But I do think the acquisitions, I think a big difference is the chemistry that it takes an offense to click takes a little longer, I think personally, than a defense, especially when you look at a Jets team that added some wide receiver options in the draft. I'm an Ohio State guy. Garrett Wilson is going to do great things, I think, for this team. But how quickly can you connect with a Zach Wilson? And you're going up against a Baltimore defense that's added Kyle Fuller at nickel, Marcus Williams in the secondary, and they added Kyle Hamilton in the draft. So Baltimore is a good defense that's improved, and the Jets have obviously improved their defense as well with DJ Reed and Jordan Whitehead in free agency. And they added Sauce Gardner and Jermaine Johnson, 2 top 10 talents in the first round of the draft. So I do think it's a little easier for that defense to kind of click when you're not relying on that one-on-one chemistry like you are with a wide receiver. So, and not to mention, I forgot Lamar Jackson, I think losing Marquise Brown is a big loss for him too, which loses a weapon out there. So I think an improved Jets defense slows this team down a little bit, and I don't think that the Jets click right away. I think it'll be sooner rather than later, but I like this one staying under that 45-point total for sure.
Under 45 in week 1. And also, for what it's worth, Ravens were really one of the biggest injury-plagued teams last year. They're going to be getting a lot of those horses back on both sides of the ball, especially on that defensive side. So Ravens and Jets staying under the 45, and the Eagles going over 9.5. 2 free plays for you from Jeff Michaels. So you gave out some free info, Jeff. How can people become a client of yours, and what do you have up this evening and coming up this week as we head into some NFL preseason play?
The one big MLB play I got up is for my all access customers only today. Actually, we've been on a good run. Number 2 going back to July 1st in the Diamond. I got some NFL win totals up outside of the ones that I gave you today. So you do have some options going up there, but best way to jump on any of these handicappers, myself included, is going with those all access packages, and you get everything, no questions. So moving into NFL season with this Hall of Fame game coming up close to me. So I'm excited to see what that holds. And in the meantime, we're looking to keep up the run on the diamond. So go get that all access and subscribe and don't miss.
Check him out, sportsmemo.com, JM Sports, old chip off the old block from Ralph Michaels there. A lot of analysis and data-driven handicap in there from the Michaels family. So huge thanks to Jeff hopping on here. We're going to be getting to our second guest coming up, Dr. Chuck, in just a few here on Sports Memo Today. And we keep it on rolling, welcoming in the second guest. He's a part of the Triple Play Tuesday, just $5 for 3 different cappers here at sportsmemo.com. You can get our guy, Dr. Chuck, alongside Tim Michael and Buster Sports for just $5. Can't beat that deal. 3 cappers, $5 for the whole lot of them. And Chuck, how are we doing, brother? Good to see you again. You must have made a good first impression because we already brought your ass back for another one, man. How's it going, Doc?
Yeah, just don't ask Ranieri about first impressions. I mean, you and I will just stick together and talk about Sixers, and he can hang with his Knicks over there and in the background, not to be seen, right? Yeah.
Well, to be fair, Dr. Chuck, talking about our Sixers hasn't turned out too well for us the past couple of seasons. So we'll just do the old maybe next year. Before we get into the free plays you have for the folks, we already learned you are an actual doctor. So when you give us your prescription plays, they are licensed. I'm just wondering for you, when you get into the sports season, because you're going all year long, like this is not a sprint, it's a marathon for you. Any part of the sports calendar that you like the best or you feel you have the best handle on, or is it really sometimes when you're hot, you're just hot?
You know what? It's a little bit of both, honestly. You are right, though. I struggle to find the needed time to take days off and have heavily that is important, especially if you're going to find these times where you can't even pick your nose, and it's a bad time to be not only trying to win yourself money, but your clients as well. I personally, my personal favorite thing to do is cap baseball, talk baseball, the trade deadline, things like that. Usually that does coincide with what I also am most successful at putting out for clients. This year has been a little bit of a downtrend, but some of the stuff that I haven't really thought about putting out that is dumb that I haven't jumped on early enough because it's what's made me the money to be able to do this for a living is tennis and golf and looking at these more niche sports that also go year round, that don't have these time off periods where, we keep saying over and over, we can't wait for football season to start, etc. Well, there's all the money spends the same, and a winner is a winner. And, as much as I love baseball and wish that it happened all year round, we were number 1 in college football last year, and we spent a lot of time doing that, which we're going to talk about today. But yeah, it's kind of what I'm able to be hottest at, but probably the thing that I am best at, just bar none, is capping tennis. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it's so not public.
Well, Dr. Chuck, if you love baseball so much, why don't you get us a winner today? Because you want to break down the game that everybody's talking about. Who cares about Juan Soto and the Padres? Everybody wants to know about the Twins and the Tigers, Doc. So let's get into this Twins-Tigers game. Twins a -190 favorite on the money line. Total, if you shop around, 8.5. It's getting steamed up. There's 9s out there as well. So, Chuck, how we betting this one, brother? You're my baseball guy, so let's get it.
Yeah, I mean, you brought it up. That's what I say a lot of times. Who doesn't love a Rangers Athletics, Orioles, Royals, or Twins Tigers game? Hey, I mean, yet again, all the money spends the same. Sure, we could be on one of these doubleheader games with Juan Soto coming into town and the Padres mortgaging their whole system for a ring. But why not look in Minnesota, where we have a total of 9? Maybe you can get an 8.5. If you can, I'd go there. I focus a lot of my capping specifically on totals, especially on VMI, which is the Visual Memory Index, and the Air Density Index. Both of them have a cushy +7, a little bit above +7. The ADI is 55. The hitting conditions are phenomenal. The wind is gusting out at 17 miles an hour at Target Field. Both these teams are in a game, second game of this series. We have an umpire advantage with Carlos Torres. Chris Archer and Matt Manning are the two starters on the mounds, and both of them, metrically poor. Both of them have an XWOBA tonight against the opponent that is close to 400, which is on the same level as a batting average or an on-base average. So I just expect there to be a lot of runs. Anytime you get, use baseball VMI, use the ADI. Clifton Neely is a genius out there. You can only be as good as the information that you can get. And both these pitchers are four-seam fastball pitchers, which means the ball's going to look to all 18 guys in the lineup like a beach ball. And it's hard to imagine we can't get to a 5-4 type game here. No value on the line. With the Tigers looking like they had a nice, solid win yesterday, and that not being the case. So love this up to 10. And if you can get the 8.5, that's even a bigger play. But I put this out as a 9 over 4-unit play, honestly.
So a big time look towards the over. And I was looking while you were talking, it does look like those 8.5s have dried up. So maybe you're able to find a rogue number there, but liking it up to 10, the Twins and the Tigers. Well, in true Dr. Chuck form, we're going to talk a college football win total. And there's a lot of people talking about, Clemson potentially being a sleeper to win a title, a lot of SEC talk, but hell no. Dr. Chuck wants to talk about the Toledo Rockets and some action. True to form, as always, brother. You know what you know, and you like it. So they mustered up 7 wins last season, did the Rockets, 5-3 in MAC play. So you're feeling a little bit more bullish. I'm looking at this total, and even with the 7 wins last year, the market's thinking they could have an improved season as well because it's sitting as 8. So 8 for the Toledo Rockets. What are we doing here, Chuck?
Yeah, and you brought it up. All the teams have value. That's what Vegas books do. And so there's no sense in thinking that you have to get after like an 11.5 for Georgia or something ridiculous along those lines. Of course, if we're talking national championship or playoff format, things like that, then Toledo's not really going to be in the hunt. But there's a reason that all 130 some teams have a wins total, and like you said, it's already being juiced up. You can't even get any 7.5s anymore, unfortunately, by the time we're shooting this. So I still like the 8. I can't imagine anything as far as my numbers go. Push would be a loss here. Just looking at the schedule, I know sometimes people think that there's nothing more futile than trying to pick wins and losses based on the schedule, but this team is off of what would be called basically a down year. Jason Candle's tenure hasn't gone like maybe it looked like it would go after Matt Campbell left and he took over, as though he was going to look just like Matt Campbell with those 2 great seasons. The last 3 haven't been as great. But he starts off with Long Island University and then UMass at home. And so we can count as that's a 2-0 record going right into, unfortunately, coming down to the Horseshoe and playing the Buckeyes, where they will then be 2-1. The rest of this time, other than playing San Diego State, is MACtion. And I don't see any team by the numbers better in MAC play. NIU is not a team that I'm worried about, even in the same side, better than the Rockets. And before they go into MACtion, they play San Diego State. Well, if you want to parse out every single aspect of this schedule, San Diego State is, as Marco would put it, in a serious sandwich situation where they go to Salt Lake and play Utah the week before and then come right after the Toledo game and play in Boise the following week. It's going to be hard for San Diego State, even if they are favored, to beat Toledo in that game and Toledo not be 3-1. And then we're just looking at gravy. But on the side of the MAC, they have all the directional Michigan schools and Ball State in addition to Northern Illinois. I think they can beat every one of those teams. Might even be favored in every one of them that isn't in DeKalb playing Northern Illinois. DeQuan Finn only started the second half of last season as a quarterback dual threat. He didn't start until Toledo was already 2-4, and it's just too much value here. They returned 8 defensive starters to a team that already had 3 top 10 defensive metrics nationally, and so this to me is a team that could win double digits, but 9-3. is not a big ask from this Rockets team. And so I just love the value here. And 8-4, I would consider to be a bummer of a loss.
Wow. So breaking down sandwich spots in the MAC on the second day of August. Buy this guy's All Access so you don't have to do it. He'll do it for you. So Chuck, I love the breakdown there. Again, it's Twins and Tigers going over the number in action today. And we're looking at the Toledo Rockets over the 8 wins. So you are part of the Triple Play Tuesday at SportsMemo.com. What play do you have up tonight and some other plays for prospective clients that you have coming down the pike?
So over the weekend, we had 5-unit winners on in one of our WNBA plays, an MLB play, and a tennis release on Saturday. Again, we're back in today with a 5-unit tennis play tonight. Like I said, Dan brought it up. All Access is the way to go. There's tennis and golf are constant. Baseball is ever fluid and constantly going on, is a daily sport. I know everybody wants the football, but it's usually end of the week type stuff. You're not going to get plays all the time. And I know a lot of people want plays all the time. If you have my All Access, you had a tennis winner as we did this show. So, I mean, it's down to why wouldn't you want to do that? But I definitely want you to go out and get all 3 of those $2 plays today. Tim Michael and Don Buster. We're all going to bring some winners home. And then after you check that out, check us out for All Access and let's keep winning.
SportsMemo.com is where you can get all of it. Huge thanks to Dr. Chuck coming on the show again today. And that's going to do it for us. You heard from the experts. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the show, head on over to Sports Memo. Grab these guys' plays, All Access, short-term, long-term. Just get in and ride the Sports Memo wave. So that's going to do it for us. Huge thanks to Dr. Chuck. Huge thanks to Jeff Michaels as well and all the guys behind the scenes here. I'm Dan Alexander, and we'll talk to you Thursday on Sports Memo Today.